everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here with my April wrap-up. So if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you guys know that I used to do wrap-ups every single month, and they started to get a little daunting. And I was reading a lot more at the time, so maybe that's why. But I'm really still just trying to figure out how I want to do wrap-ups. Do I want to do the last 10 books I read? Do I want to do weekly reads? Do I want to do monthly wrap-ups? I don't really know. So let me know down below what you prefer. Maybe I'll start doing mid-month wrap-ups. I really like to share my stats, which then at mid-month is kind of weird. But let me know the frequency that you guys like to see things. So this is going to be my April wrap-up. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if you like it, see if I like it, and we'll just go from there. So in April, I read 20 books, and the average length of those books was 344 pages. So that is typical for me, right in that 300 to 400. I feel like that's the sweet spot. Above 400, it gets a little and below, it's often underdeveloped for me, but so I feel like that's right in my sweet spot. And that's a total of 6,885 pages, which is 230 pages a day, which you'll see later is audiobooks. If I sat down and read 230 pages a day, I would feel so accomplished, but that's probably never going to happen for me, not at least in this stage of life. So I read 19 novels and one chapter book, which is what I'm calling the books that I'm reading with my daughter. 17 were adult, one was young adult, one new adult, and one middle grade. I had 1 2-star, 1 2.5 star, 4 3 stars, 7 3.5 stars, and 7 4 stars. So the average is 3.45, which again is pretty typical for me. 3.5 stars is I enjoyed that. I would recommend it. It's not going to be the best thing. I'm not going to remember it forever, but it was pretty good. And so I feel like having around a 3.5 is pretty solid for me. So I read 12 that were on my shelf and 8 that were not. So if you guys followed me last year, I was really trying to read as much as possible off my physical shelf. And this year I'm not doing that as much because it made me feel almost guilty to read something else. And I really just want the freedom to read whatever. And I have also accumulated a lot of very similar books on my bookshelf, on my TBR bookshelf. It's getting better as things go on, but I have a lot of backlists, either women's fiction or romance, and I love those, and that's why I bought them. But too many over and over and over just gets it gets too much, and I get burnt out. So this year I'm not focused on that. I'm still going to my shelves first, but I'm not forcing myself to, if that makes sense. So the format that I read these books in is what I didn't used to share, and I don't know why. I just never included this stat, and it's so interesting. So I read 10 audiobooks, 3 e-arcs, 4 ebooks. So however you want to count that, and then 3 trade paperbacks. And I got 1 from Hoopla, 13 from Libby, 1 from the library, 3 from NetGalley, and 3 off my shelf. So if you guys can see, with that Hoopla and Libby and the library usage, even if I'm reading books physically on my shelf, I almost always try to get a digital copy as well from the library. So I'm so thankful for my library, and I love the digital libraries. So I read 4 new releases and 15 backlists. I'm counting new releases as anything in 2022. And then 7 women's fiction, 4 mystery thrillers, 3 romance, 3 general contemporary, 2 nonfiction, and 1 historical. So that is all the stats for April. And let's just get into the books. And I'm here on limited time, you guys. If you guys have watched for a while, you know that I film during soccer. So I have an hour to get things done. So I'm not going to pull what I have off my shelf, and then you can see my shelves are a mess anyway. But I'll just put pictures up. Sorry, I promised I will try to get better and try to get a little more time to actually find the books that I have. But for now, we're just going to do pictures. So first I read Always in December by Emily Stone, and I really didn't like this book. I gave it 2 stars, and this is about a couple who kind of meets by happenstance. They have a one-night stand, and then he disappears. And it's not really a one-night stand. I think it's a weekend, but then he disappears. And then fate keeps bringing them back into each other's lives over the years. Love that trope. I love that trope. However, I never liked our main male character, and there's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of secrets, big secrets that are being kept. And I couldn't get on board with the romance, and so I didn't really care. And it was kind of a slog. So I would not recommend that one. Then I read How to Raise an Intuitive Eater by Sumner Brooks, and I'll put a picture up because I can't remember who the other author is, but I gave that 4 stars. So intuitive eating is something that I have really embraced over the past couple years of just trying to tune into your intuition and reject diet mentality and just let your body be what it is, because these past few years, like, I have been pregnant, breastfeeding, or trying to have a baby for like as long as I can remember. So my body has changed a lot throughout the years, and it's really like easy to get wrapped up in that. And I just want to trust my body and fuel it the way it needs. And I want to make sure, as the mom of girls, that I'm also teaching them to really respect their body. So I really liked it. It's really practical. It's got good tips like throughout the ages. My girls are young enough that like only part of this book applied to them, but overall it was a really good book. Then I read Learning to Fly by Roxanne Hinkey. So I gave this one 4 stars. This was a surprisingly good one. So this one is about a woman who has a baby, her first baby. It's a little girl, and she's like, what am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. And she runs into like a former, I think she's like a high school friend or something. She runs into her, and this woman has it all together. She's in designer clothes. She's matching her kid. Like, everything just looks perfect. And the two like strike up a friendship again. And we find that like everything's not quite as it seems with the other woman. And our main character raises her daughter kind of strictly. And the other one is a lot more like permissive and friendly. And we kind of see like how those parenting styles react with those children. And I do think this does have like a Christian lens. And I really appreciated that and liked it because it was done in a way that I feel is very like realistic to my life, as far as it wasn't like spouting scripture all the time, but it was thinking about scripture when you're raising your kids. And so I really liked that, but I do think it definitely was a little bit harsh on like more permissive parenting, or more, not even permissive, because that's not like that. I wouldn't say that's like the issue. I think the issue is like not wanting to discipline, but instead wanting to be your kid's friend. I think it was a little harsh on that, and a little extreme on that, and a little bit made for TV movie on that. But overall, it was pretty good. So then I reread Confessions of a Shopaholic with Tara from Buzzwords Books, and I just love her. And it was her first time reading it, and I have the whole series, like the whole 9 books, and I think I've read the first like 5. And so I really wanted to start over and be like, this is 9 books on my shelf. Do I want this taking up space? And so we reread it, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. So I don't know how much of it I liked because of nostalgia, but this is about Becky Bloomwood. She has a shopping problem, and she also works in the financial industry. So kind of ironic. And it's just following her, and the whole 9-book series follows her. So this first book, not a whole lot happens. But we really get to know Becky, and I felt that it was really relatable, like to any bad habit you want to break or any addiction you have. Like, she just can't resist a good deal. And that is not necessarily my issue, but like I could still understand, like with bad habits, just really like making all these plans to stop and then not being able to. So I related to that. I thought it definitely was a little much at times, and like a little anxiety inducing, because like there were debt collectors coming after her, and like the bank at her door, and it was stressful. And she like just owed her roommate rent, and then would like buy a bougie scarf instead. And that's like, girl, that's not cool. And the end, everything like worked out really perfectly in a way that would never happen. So 3.5 stars. It was entertaining. I will continue with the series and see how it goes. And this one, she's the youngest, and she's the most immature, obviously, because she ages and matures as the books go on. So I'm hoping they get better and better. Next is Someone Else's Love Story by Jocelyn Jackson, and I gave this one 3 stars. I loved Mother May I by Jocelyn Jackson, and I think that was kind of like a one-hit wonder for me, because I haven't really loved anything else she wrote. So this one is about a woman who, she's traveling with her young son and a friend, and her young son are in a gas station when it is like held up at gunpoint. So this man comes in and like puts himself in front of her son. So of course she instantly is like obsessed with this man. And so she wants to find out more about him. And he is also like a genetic scientist of some sort. And so she also wants his help figuring out who the father of her son is, because she was raped as a young child, or like a teen, and she doesn't know who her child's dad is. And so she wants to find out, and she wants his help. So it's about that. It's also like his wife became a nun, and he had like a lot of jealousy over like her relationship with God, which I thought was really a strange thing to include and not quite handled the way I wanted it to. And I just didn't love this book. It was all right, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Next is The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams, and I did love this book. So I've read How to Fail at Flirting and The Fastest Way to Fall, and I think I will read pretty much anything she writes. So this is about a woman, I think she works for some sort of style magazine, and she's like plus size. I don't remember like how overweight she is or whatever, but she's just a body confident, awesome lady. And she works with this like skinny size 2, picture perfect girl. And they both decide to try different like workout apps, one of which is very like weight loss focused, the other is not. And so she gets paired with this coach. She is on the like one that's more like body positive. So she gets paired with this coach. And it happens to be like the owner of the app in the company. And the two strike up a friendship, like first just through the app, and then they meet. And it was just really good. I really liked the body positivity. I liked the romance. I liked the exercise component. And I liked like figuring out how diet and exercise are not bad, and they like belong in life. But figuring out how to do that in like a healthy way. Then we've got We're Gonna Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union. And this is her first memoir. And I read this because of Audrey from Chapter and Converse. She was reading, I think, both the memoirs and said she really liked them. And I don't know a whole lot about Gabrielle Union, but I know she has a really interesting story. So I read this first one. And this first one is, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's mostly about like her younger years. However, it does kind of jump around. It's not like super linear. And she was also raped as a teen. And she had a really hard time with that. She also had a hard time, like her dad was one who really wanted to keep up with the Joneses. So he moved him into like kind of a bougie white neighborhood. And so going through school, figuring out like how to fit in with both crowds, like the white side of herself and the black side of herself. And there was a lot of things that I thought were just really eye-opening for me. And if you are triggered by rape and stuff, she does go pretty in depth with that. And then she starts to touch on her marriage and relationship with Dwayne Wade and their infertility issues. But I'm currently reading the second one, and that one definitely goes more into it. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I liked getting to know her a little bit more. I liked her voice. She is a little bit crass at times, and a little bit over the top on that, but not to the point that it ruined the book for me. Then we've got The Survivors Club by Lisa Gardner. So I gave this one 3 stars. This is about 3 or 4, I can't remember, women who all are survivors of a serial rapist. And one of them is actually the sister of somebody that he raped and killed. And she was there at the time of the incident. And so he is about to be put in prison or something, and he is shot. And so he's shot by a hired killer, and the hired killer is also dies. And so the cops are trying to figure out who hired the killer to kill this man. So, of course, the Survivors Club is like the main people. And the sister of the girl is like the ringleader. And so she's like the main suspect. And this book was way too long, first of all. So I gave it 3 stars. It's way too long. If I would like tell you the whole plot and like what happened and who done it, I would say it was really interesting. But the way it was done, I think because there were some slow pacing parts, I just had a little bit like of lack of interest. And so I didn't love it. I do love Lisa Gardner though, so I think this one was just a little too long and too much for me. Then we have The Hot Flash Club by Nancy Thayer. So Nancy Thayer is another one that she's a pretty reliable 3.5, 4-star author for me. She writes women's fiction, and this is the same. So I gave this 3.5 stars. This is about, I think, 4 women who are all later in life, and they are all just trying to, I actually gave it 3.5. They're all trying to kind of start over for whatever reason. And they all have different spots where they need help. And these people meet at this party strike up a friendship, and they all start helping each other with the things that they need. So it's really unrealistic that like these women like completely overhaul their life to help the other women, and in ways that I don't think would ever actually happen, and like practically, and like they couldn't happen, but also like they probably wouldn't happen. So for what it was cute. I gave it 3.5 stars. Next is Playing Hurt by Holly Schindler. So this is a story of a girl who, she is like a uber famous basketball star in her community. She's a high school girl, so she's just like, everybody knows that she is the golden girl. She's going to be this basketball star. Then she gets like a career-ending hip injury. We don't really get to see any of that. That's more just told to us like as it happened in the past. And I think I would have liked it better if we saw it happen. Like we would have had more emotional connection to her. But anyway, so her and her family are going to like a cabin in Minnesota or somewhere to spend the summer. And there's like this guy that's there that is running this physical therapy / personal training program. So her dad enrolls her in that program, and she's like not sure how she feels about that. The guy that is running it used to be like a really well-known hockey star in his community, but he quit for reasons that I'll say have more to do with mental health and something that happened to him and his response. So the two of them come together, both really broken, both really guarded, and both really not wanting to get hurt again. And so it's their relationship, and it's cute. I enjoyed this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. There is a sequel because the way it ended is her leaving the camp, like the summer camp or whatever, to go back to her regular life. But they kind of left a romance right in the middle of things. So there is a sequel called, let's see, what's it called? Play It Again. And I gave it 2.5 stars. So I read it right away, and I didn't like it at all. I like had a hard time, like I said, feeling the emotional connection in the first book. And then by the second book, I just like didn't believe that these 5 years later, or however many years later, that there was like, I just didn't buy in the OTP. Like, I don't know, just didn't buy it. Thought it was kind of flat. Found myself like zoning out at times. I didn't like it. And it like cheapens the first one for me. So I wish I wouldn't have read it. But overall, the first one's okay. Don't read the second one. Next is Finding the Other Woman by BAXTER. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is about a woman who was in a car accident with her dad, and her dad died, and she has no memory from that point on. And so her dad was abusive as she was growing up. He was sexually abusive, and her mom never stood up for her. She never really like said anything to anybody outside of her family. So she has just been harboring a lot from that. And so her dad died, and she's like not really upset by it, but for some reason she still cannot remember anything. So she's married to this man who seems like a nasty guy. Like he seems nasty, and she finds text messages, I think, between him and another woman, and like he's calling out another woman's name, and like while he's sleeping, and so she knows there's another woman. So she goes to try to find the other woman, and what she finds is a lot more than she bargained for. And I think that almost is exactly what it says on the back, something like that. And I don't want to say anything more about it because I don't want to give away the twist. So that one was good. I gave it 3.5 stars. Next was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this is about this woman. She has been in jail for the past 10 years, and we don't know why until later in the book. And she's just like desperate for a job. She's living in her car. She has no money. She needs a job. And so she is trying to be a housemaid, like a live-in housemaid for somebody. And so she finds this family and interviews with the wife, and like weeks later, the wife calls and is like, okay, you've got the job. So things start to seem really weird. And like they've got kind of like a creepy daughter. And I can't remember how old she is, but like tween age. And so they are just, things are being weird. And the wife is like not telling her things, and then like reacting really angrily at things that like she never said. And so the wife seems crazy. The wife seems super crazy. And so she kind of like bonds with the husband of like, what am I supposed to do? Because she tells me not to do this, and then I do it or don't do it, and she gets mad that I don't do it. And so she kind of bonds with the husband. But is the wife crazy, or is there more to the story? I'll just leave it at that. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Next is Would I Lie to You? And I'm not even going to try to say this last name, so I'll just put the picture up. But 3 stars on that. This one is about a woman. Her husband loses his job, and he thinks they have this like big emergency fund bank account that they had, but she spent it all. And so now she is just trying to like keep their family afloat and keep this secret from him. And so it's, would I lie to you? Yes, I would. And I did not like it because she lied the whole time. Whereas if she would have just told him in the beginning, like, hey, I really screwed up. And she has a history of like doing stupid things. And so she's scared to tell him. But it was annoying that she wouldn't just like tell somebody at least what was going on and get somebody to help her, because she's doing stupid stuff to try to get the money back. And it got annoying. Next is A Wedding on Sunshine Corner by Phoebe Mills. So I gave this one 3 stars as well. This is the second in a series, but I have not read the first. Sunshine Corner is like a preschool. And the first book, I think, is about the best friend who owns the preschool. And then this one is about, she's kind of like the principal of the school is what I would like call her. And she teaches the four-year-old class. And so it's her romance with one of her students' dads. And they have a history, like it was her brother's best friend. So there's that history. There's kind of like some tension at the beginning. I wouldn't necessarily call it enemies to lovers, but there's definitely some tension. And this one just was kind of flat. I never really felt the chemistry. Again, like these romances for me either have to have like a strong emotional impact or I really have to feel the chemistry. And this one didn't really have either. So it's just okay. 3 stars. Next was Necessary Lies by Diane Chamberlain. So this one I gave 4 stars. This is about, it's told in the late 50s, early 60s, I think, and it is about a family who is just barely getting by. It's a young girl with epilepsy, her older sister who has a young son, and she really struggles with mental health, and then the grandmother who is struggling with diabetes, I believe. And so it's the 4 of them just trying to get by. They are working on this property that it's a man that owns it, and he has multiple families working for him. I think the other family that we know well is a Black family. And then we also get the story of a social worker who comes to help these families that are working for this man. So she is a new social worker, and she gets a little over involved in her cases. Like she just, which I can never be a social worker because I would want to like give my everything to help everybody. And that's kind of how she is. And she gets really, really invested. And so this is really having to do with a eugenics sterilization thing that happened. I believe it was in the Carolinas at this time. And this is not a factual story, but as Diane Chamberlain always does, she takes pieces of history and like makes a story out of them. And so this really was happening. They were sterilizing people who were deemed like low IQ, but they're really not being fair in testing, and people who were super low income, minorities, they were just sterilizing people so they wouldn't have babies. And our families are in danger of being sterilized. And that, like, our main character is 15 years old and they are trying to sterilize her. So our social worker like really steps in and is like, something is not right here. And there's some lies that happen that are necessary to protect people. And I loved it. I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars, but now upon reflection, maybe it's even like a 4.5. It wasn't my favorite Diane Chamberlain, but I really liked it. Next is Heidi Heckelbeck Gets Glasses by Wanda Coven. So this is a 4 star. This is the one I read with my daughter. So she loves Heidi Heckelbeck. I think she's good. I mean, she's definitely, my daughter's 4, and there's a lot of it that probably goes over her head because Heidi is somewhere in that middle elementary age. So there's a little bit of like drama there that goes over her head and is not quite my favorite. But this one, she like has a classmate that gets glasses, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, your glasses are so cool. And like even the teachers make a big deal about it and stuff. So Heidi's like, hey, I want glasses. So she starts pretending that she can't see so she can get glasses. So she gets glasses, like she pretends to fail these eye tests and all that kind of stuff. She gets glasses and realizes that like lying to get what you want is not necessarily the best bet. So I liked that message, and I liked like there was a lot of good conversations with my daughter because we are really just getting into the age where she like realizes she can lie and she doesn't have to tell the truth. Like, I don't necessarily know if she's lying. And so, yeah, it was a good conversation starter. Next is Instamom by Chantel Gurton. And I give this 3.5 stars. This is about an Instagram influencer who is like well known for being not anti-kid, but like pro woman's choice of if they're going to have kids or not. And pro like living life kid-free. And so she is all about that. She's made this huge platform for herself. And then she has to work with this chef who kind of needs help with like the Instagram and the marketing and that kind of stuff. And he is a single dad to an 8-year-old. And they get involved. And of course, she starts questioning, like, is this right? Like, do I want kids? Why do I think I don't want kids? And I liked this book. I thought it was entertaining, but I really I love that idea that like having kids is not right for everybody, and that is not necessary to have a happy ending. And I just didn't feel like that quite hit home enough. There's a group of like women who have chosen to be kid-free, and it seems like a lot of them were kid-free for like medical reasons or whatever. We don't see enough of like people who choose to not have children just because they don't want them, which is, there's nothing wrong or inferior or superior about that. And I didn't feel like I quite got that from this book. Next is Pieces of the Heart by Karen White. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. This one is interesting. The first, it's like 330 or 340. It's not a very long book. And the first like 200 pages was really kind of slow. So this is about a woman who is recovering. Well, she's not recovering, I wouldn't say, because she's like multiple years past, but she had a heart transplant. And things at work are just getting to be a little too much. So her boss is like, hey, take a break. So she goes and stays with her mom at like this lake house. And it's in the town where she grew up. And so there's some dynamics between her and her mom. And then there's also like her brother. She had a twin brother who has died, and he had a really good girlfriend that then did become like his girlfriend. And her mother is involved in the story as well. And she has died as well. Not the mother, but the girlfriend has died as well. And she left a husband and young daughter, or teen daughter or something. So it's a story of all of that and like facing the past and guilt, and there's just a lot talked about. And I really liked this book, but like I said, the last 100 pages was like whoa, 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 and it was like whoa, 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 whoa. And I really wish it would have been sprinkled more throughout. So I really liked this book. I like Karen White as an author, and I will continue to read them, but this one wasn't my favorite. Next and last is What She Witnessed by Cole Baxter. If you couldn't tell, I discovered Cole Baxter on NetGalley. A lot of his books were self-published and now are being published on audio. And so a lot of them are on NetGalley. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is about a woman who, her husband dies, and he has got like a very bad nut allergy. And so her mother-in-law, his mother, is like, she killed him. She put nuts in his food, and that killed him. And so she's arrested and put in jail before like an autopsy is even done, which I don't think is very realistic and kind of like sets the stage for this whole book. So take that for what it's worth. But we find out he actually died from a seafood allergy, shellfish or something, and he didn't know about it. His mother, on the other hand, has the same allergy and did know about it, but did not tell him or did not tell anybody. So our main character is set free because she obviously didn't know about the nut allergy or the shellfish allergy. She didn't choose to make him eat it. Like, she had no guilt. It was just an accident. And yet the mother-in-law is a sociopath. And the woman is very eager to get out of jail because her son, who's a teenager, is also a sociopath. And he knows that, but is really, really trying to like not hurt anybody, not let those tendencies and those struggles come to fruition. And so then his girlfriend goes missing, and he doesn't know what happened. He blacked out that night. So did he hurt her? Did somebody else hurt her? What happened to her? Is she dead or is she just missing? I don't know. And so it's this woman and like what you would do to protect your child. It's just so good. It was really good. And like I said, there's definitely some things that you really have to suspend your disbelief. Like the way the police are after this woman and her son felt like really over the top, especially given some of the circumstances, but I enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. I'll read more Cole Baxter. Like I said, I read 2 of his last month, and I will continue to read them. So that is my April wrap up. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you think. And if any of them sound super interesting, let me know which ones. And I would love to chat in the comments below. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.